Hi, I'm Gary Schleifer, and this is Beyond the Page, brought to you by Choice, the magazine of professional coaching, the ultimate resource for professional coaches in this wonderful arena of professional coaching. We're more than a magazine. Choice is a community for people who use coaching in their working or personal lives. We've been building our strong, passionate following in the coaching industry for more than 20 years. Yeah, and I still love it. In today's episode, I talk with coach and educator George Anastasopoulos about his book entitled I Love Mondays. George is a PCC with the International Coaching Federation. He's a CSL. He's the head coach at Leadership Fundamentals, founded more than 20 years ago. So there's another 20. Following a 20-year corporate sales, there's another 20. So we're at 60 now. Now we're getting old. Marketing and general management career. His mission is to enable every manager and employee on the planet to do less, yay, accomplish more, awesome, and make a difference. George has taught at the University of Toronto and York University's Schulich Executive Education Center. Welcome, George, and thank you so much for joining me today.
Gary, thank you for having me. And I got to tell you, after all those 20s, I'm feeling quite old.
Yeah, I know, right? Well, okay, 20 of them are mine, 2 20s are yours, but let's just run them in parallel, and we're only just in our 20s. How's that?
I think that sounds like a good compliment.
I like good plan. Okay. I, first of all, before we get into any other questions, have to tell you, I absolutely loved the book. It was like I could not put it down. I think I read it in less than 24 hours. And I think because I read it so fast, I want to go read it again. I really loved the way it was written because I like that style. And I loved what it represented in the story. So that's my impression of it. I want you to tell our listeners and our viewers. So tell them about I Love Mondays.
Awesome. Thank you. First of all, Gary, thank you so much for the compliments that you've paid me on the book that you read and how much you appreciated it. It really warms my heart to know that someone like you, who is a professional in the world of the coaching field, but also a human being who appreciates a good read.
Oh my
goodness. What you took away from it.
It was brilliant. I mean, I'll put it right up there with, I watched a movie recently called Dare to Dream, The Secret. Remember The Secret series?
Yeah.
And there was a movie, indeed, Dare to Dream, and it has a tale to tell of reality and impact. And your book was like, it was like I was watching a movie, like I was reading a movie, it was just awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. So you asked me to talk a little bit about the book and what It's all about and so forth. Well, we're in the world of coaching, you and I, and it's pretty simple to sit down and say, I'm going to write a book about coaching. And I'm going to write a book that is going to help coaches be better coaches or help coaches win more clients or whatever the case might be. And it's almost, it's almost simple to write a book that has a how-to menu of how to do certain things. Yeah. But it's considerably more challenging to write a book that is entertaining, provides hope, provides inspiration. And that was our intent all along. My co-author, Dakota Lamar, and I, it was our inspiration all along, is to provide hope and inspiration for people who needed it and wanted it in the workplace, while at the same time showcasing coaching, showcasing the power of coaching, bringing it into the mainstream of understanding how it would work in a workplace. And to tell a story and weave a journey, which is what coaching is often between us and our clients, is a journey from a starting place that is perhaps unpleasant or challenging or offers opportunities to an end place and the journey along that continuum. And so we wrote a story in the form of a novel with a hero and ups and downs and a sage and wise non-human character representing her coach that ultimately delivers, spoiler alert, a happy ending.
It does that. So why'd you do it? Why'd you write this book?
Well, I spent, like you said earlier, I invested, put 20 years of my life into corporate work. And when I left corporate 20 years ago, roughly over 20 years ago, I left because I was tired of being overworked, overwhelmed, overstressed, and underappreciated. And I didn't want to have to experience that anymore, but I committed my life at that point to training and coaching and working with others to help them not have to face the same thing. Research has shown that, and this is my research, my own research, and there's plenty of it out there, it shows that something like 2/3 of employees in the workplace are disengaged. Half of those are actively disengaged, which means they're sabotaging their company or their coworkers. A quarter of them are burned out. 20% are driven to tears. Work shouldn't be doing this to us, Gary. And much of the work that you and I do and other coaches do in the workplace and dealing with people with workplace issues deals with the pressures and the stresses and the anxieties they face in a cluttered workplace. And I wanted to change that. I wanted to give them some practical belief shifts that they could embrace that would allow them to view their environment differently and the people that they work with differently, together with a set of skills that they could easily apply that would transform both themselves as well as those around them.
No, you did. And you did a great job, because, when I read it, I'm thinking like, I know you're a coach, I'm a coach. Why would this book be of interest to me? And first of all, I felt that the book isn't just of interest for coaches, and I'll tell you what the impact was on me, but it's also would be an awesome book to give to your clients, because they can see themselves in it. They can better understand the coaching journey, what's available with coaching. It can help them understand their leadership journey. So to give an example, one of the things that I got out of the book was, and I'm really bringing it down to simple, is that you can cause a cultural shift no matter where you are in your organization.
Absolutely.
So I read that book, and wasn't that the direction that all my coaching sessions took that week? I had people who were in the place of that your fictional character, and were frustrated, like you said, about majority of corporate individuals, and felt that it was either somebody else higher up had to take the charge to make a change. Otherwise, I'm out of here.
Yeah.
And I faced that. And it was interesting because I used that kind of like the weekly, it was like I had a premise for coaching. I know we're not supposed to have a big A agenda. We're supposed to have a little A agenda. But I had that in the background because I couldn't drop the significance of your fictional character's role in the impact in her organization.
Well, Gary, first of all, I am super, super happy to hear you say what you just said, because the fact that my book and the story that I wove through that there with Dakota, my co-author, the fact that it made an impact in your perspective and your mindset as you coached your clients and allowed you to have an impact with them that is even more profound than you would typically have. I mean, that's just super powerful. And that's part of the underlying hope that I had about the book and equipping coaches to be able to showcase the transformative nature of coaching with their clients. But more importantly, or just as importantly, is to allow them to believe in themselves and what's possible for people beyond and organizations beyond merely the client. It's the downstream impact. And you're proving it just by having read it and by allowing that consciously and subconsciously to influence the way you come forward as a coach with your clients. That, I think, is absolutely huge. Coaching is just such a wonderful profession. It's such a powerful methodology of growth, of learning, of fulfillment, of progress, of transformation. And we coaches are often our own worst enemies, as the limiting beliefs that we have about ourselves and our clients. I wanted to open that up a little bit and say we can change the world. And we can change the world with the next person that we touch. And I hope that we demonstrated that through our protagonist in the story, our hero, Jessica, and the work that she does with her coach. Yeah.
Really, really well done. Well, and before I give you another example of the impact on me, what did you learn about coaching as you wrote this? I mean, you're already a seasoned coach. You came at it for us. I can't imagine you didn't get something out of this.
Well, and you would be correct. What did I learn about coaching as I wrote it? It was fascinating to see the distinction in my mind that there's when we coach and we're in the moment with our and present with our clients. And when we're in the moment and present with our clients, we get to experience what we're experiencing and to help them in their journey through our conversation. What I discovered is that in creating that in story form and imagining it, it really enhanced my ability to visualize a coaching conversation. I discovered that, coaching is, once I reflected on it and edited it and sculpted the language in the coaching conversation that's being used in the various interactions between our hero, Jessica, and her coach, I kept thinking how powerful reflection is for coaches. As I kept looking back on it, I kept thinking, okay, I want to edit this sentence a little bit. She should be asking this question as opposed to that question, or what have you. And so I learned how powerful reflection is for coaches to be able to go back. And so one of the things I'm now starting to do with my clients is asking permission to record all our sessions for the purposes of me going back and listening to what I said and didn't say and their reaction, and then visualize how would it have unfolded had I asked a different question or perhaps offered a challenge or an acknowledgement instead of what I might have done at the same time. And Gary, there was more. I learned that engaging my mentor coach to advance read it and offer suggestions turned out to be a really good idea. Because she, and I hope I'm not telling tales out of school here, but she is one of the endorsers on the back of the book, Sue Sheldon, who's an amazing lady, and I love her to death.
I know her too.
Oh, totally. And so I engaged Sue, and Sue, being the modest person that she is, at first the humble person, she said, well, I don't know if I could give you any feedback on authoring in books. I don't write books. And I said, well, just read what happens between the coach and their, the client, and give me some thoughts. And her suggestions and her insights as she viewed it through her lens was hugely helpful. So I encourage all us coaches, that's the learning I took away. I encourage all us coaches to continue to use a mentor coach throughout the course of our journey. It's hugely valuable.
Yeah, no kidding. And I really love what you said about what you did about recording and reflecting back yourself, let alone the client possibly having the access to the recording too, to say, to take a look and remember what it was that you said. Because and we know this already, that coaching happens mostly after, like between sessions. But what if so what if some of our clients they need to re-see it, rehear it, relearn it, to not be in the stress possibly of the moment, or I have to answer in the moment when the coaching actually happens. So no, it's really great. And I guess this is a reflective thing too, because I also, while I was coaching people, I came upon one person, and I was like, didn't have to. I noticed myself taking that anybody can make a cultural shift in an organization from any place within the organization. And looking at this particular client I was working with to see, like, it's almost PTSD-ish. He was that far, like it was like I was noticing a case study where the book and the learning from the book, he was too far gone the other side of the possibility of pivoting back. Like there were starting to be physical manifestations that he needed a break. And yet it was still possible to keep the love of the concept of being a cultural manifester or leader in the way that he held the loyalty for the company that he'd worked with for so long, and the team that he didn't want to abandon his team. So, it's still, let me say, okay, it's maybe just not now to have that kind of conversation with this client. But I didn't, but it wasn't that it couldn't happen in the future. Right.
Right. Oh no, I totally get that. And in fact, I mean, I'm just thinking of a metaphor right now, Gary. If you watch any like professional sport on TV, hockey, football, and so forth, like if you're watching the bench after a play or after a sequence and the line that's just come off, I mean, you'd look at them on the bench as the camera pans over there, and they're all looking at their tablets, and they're all reviewing the previous play and how the other team's defense reacted, or the coach, or the excuse me, the goalkeeper reacted, or how the people that they were, competing against, the other players, the other team, they're watching the play, they're analyzing the play, they're reflecting upon the play, and they're doing so together. And so the true sign of professionalism is our ability to step back after the fact and say, what did I experience in the moment? What am I seeing now on reflection, whether I'm looking at it on a tablet because I recorded it, or just in reflection in my head? And how am I going to adjust the way I continue to coach this person to help them in this journey, recognizing that they're at a stage that isn't quite ready to take them where I think I'd like to take them.
Yeah, no kidding.
So I totally get that. But if we're professionals, and we are, then maybe we ought to be taking that tablet out and saying, that didn't sound
well. And that's mentoring and supervision. I totally agree. I'm going to be entering in a program to work towards applying for my MCC, Master Certified Coach Mastery. I don't know what they call it now. I think it's still MCC. And I'll be I'm up leveling to having an MCC coach, so I have that experience, so I can have that modeled for me. It's going to include supervision, mentoring, so this coming year will be exactly all of that for me. So thanks, good point. I said earlier on that I thought this would be great for coaches and their clients. Was there anybody else you thought this book would be for?
Well, Gary, when I first wrote this book, I wrote this for people who used to be me, or people who I used to be, I should say.
Wow. Do you have a lot of people that used to be you, George?
Yeah.
Those lucky people. Those lucky people.
Hopefully not. No, but the person I used to be, that overworked, overwhelmed, overstressed micromanager type boss that I was, because I believed and had held on to a belief system that I got to do it all on demand perfectly right now. That, this is the way it is. There's the rules. And I recognize that those beliefs and a attachment to those kinds of beliefs about being a manager were not helpful to me being an effective leader. Right. And in fact, were causing me the stress, the overwhelm, the overworked, and so forth, that I was taking it all onto myself. And so what I wrote this book for those people who go to work and they got a knot in their stomach on Monday morning, because they've got a to-do list as long as their arm. They've got meetings back to back. There's conflicting priorities. Oh my gosh, I didn't finish my to-do list from last week. Now I've got 14 emails that are urgent, and they're not sure where to go next. And they hate Mondays and every other day. And so I wrote this book for people who have to go to work and are not looking forward to it because they're not in love with their work or the people that they're doing it with. I wrote this book to inspire people to understand that they are the solution, or as I say it bluntly, you are the solution. I wrote this book so that people don't live in a world of victimization where they're constantly complaining that the other person or the situation or the company or the organization or the hierarchy, whatever it is the villain here that's causing them grief. But in fact, they're the solution. They can turn things around by changing their belief systems, by adopting a few simple, practical, applicable, concrete skills. And not only does that transform them, but because of that, it transforms those around them. And as a consequence of that, their organization as well. And there was no way I could have said what I just said to make it truly believable. But if I weave the story that had that outcome in its wake, then I thought this might provide the inspiration and the hope for people in the workplace to realize, hang on a second, maybe I can say TGIM.
Yeah.
maybe that's not such a foreign thing after all.
Yeah. And it's not. I mean, I love everything I do. I look forward to Mondays because I love what I do. I
Exactly.
also am in charge of what I do. And, so I'm my own boss.
Yeah.
But I want to pause and just reflect on what you just said, because this is why I love doing these calls, because I'm always trying to get that little bit more out of the author, you. And you
Right.
just said something that I think we all know, but we don't stop and come to a call with as often as we might. I'll speak for myself. I know I don't.
Okay.
You are the solution.
Yeah.
So what if the question to the client is, so what if you are the solution?
Mm.
I am going to use that in my coaching calls for the rest of this week. I've got 10 lined up for the next 24 hours. So what if you are the solution?
Yeah.
And
Well,
help them
Gary,
move away. Yeah.
totally. I would love to hear your reflections on using that phrase after you're done the next 10 clients. That's
Yeah.
powerful stuff.
Yeah.
And as we enable and coach and instill confidence through our work with our clients, as the transformation our clients go through, it's important for them to understand that they don't need to be victims. They are the solution, and that they can.
And if my head's down, it's because I just wrote it in my little daily in front of me book. What if you are the solution? And see where and when that would appropriately fit in as a question. It's interesting because it takes me back to my early days of coaching, where you used to have that list of powerful questions that you got in school and you couldn't wait to use them, and you weren't listening to your client because you're getting ready to give that perfect question. And
Exactly.
in this case, it's like I have a perfect question, but it's like, okay, it's written down. As my dad used to say, you
Yeah.
write it down, you can forget it, you can throw out the piece of paper because it's locked in. And
Mm-hmm.
being a trained, experienced coach, as you are for 20 years, we know when it's the right time to do it. But sometimes it's the context within which we come to the call, the way,
Yes.
the way we're a part of how we prepare for a call. I don't know about
That's
you, but
well said.
I look at notes, I reflect back on what the client, I try to get back in the moment I was in the last time I spoke with that client. But I also
Right.
want to prepare for, because sometimes literally my clients are lost. They don't know what they
Mm-hmm.
want to talk about next. And then, right. So,
Totally.
it's
Gary,
cool.
you're right on the mark there. Absolutely. And the book ultimately was written, coaches were my second sort of audience that I would hope would
Oh,
read, appreciate, and use it as much. My primary audience were for readers who are in the workplace, just average people who are our
yeah.
clients.
Yeah.
And I wanted to give them hope and inspiration, as I said before, to love what they do, where they do it, who they do it with, to like rediscover the joy, the fulfillment, the meaning in their work. I mean, for
Mm-hmm.
goodness sakes, man, we spend at least half our waking lives at work. If we're not
Yeah.
loving it, there's something wrong with this picture.
Yeah.
And for managers in particular to move beyond sort of the day-to-day fires, preventing outside influences from becoming central to their life, to slow
Mm-hmm.
down, to focus on the people. In fact, if one of the ultimate messages that's in my book is, it isn't about it's about who.
Mm.
People, you see, it ultimately,
Yep.
we're all good at it stuff, it being the
Yeah, we're
job, and
doers. We're
they're
doers.
doers, right? We do,
Yeah.
like, tasks and processes and plans and strategies and, issue management, all that's it stuff, right? And work, I often say jokingly and simplistically, work is easy. People are hard. And this is a and this is a
True
book
that.
about
They're so freaking
exactly.
complicated, aren't they? They need coaching.
Exactly. They need coaching. Exactly. And so that's what the book is intended to demonstrate to people in the workplace,
Right.
that work is easy, people are hard, and to give them a way to show them through the coaching interactions that take place in the book and the journey, to show them that it is very possible, it is very likely, in fact, it's most probable that you can transform yourself, those around you, and your organization, regardless of where you are in the
Yeah.
organization.
True that.
I want people to achieve their ambitions without sacrificing their family or their well-being.
Well, and their entire lives. Like, their work life, to love going back to work, to overcoming all of this great resignation conversation that's going on. And it, you know, it's not me. It can't, how could it possibly be me? And I'm like, well, why not? That's always my question. Why can't it be you? Well, blah, 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 blah. And I would come back. I use why a lot in coaching, actually, to dig deeper and deeper and deeper. I know originally it was taboo, but I use it. So no, this is all great. And I know our listeners are gaining some from this. And I have a sense they're very excited to get this book and read it. But before we wrap up, I wanted to ask you what, you know, what do you want our readers and of course, coaches listening to get from this?
Sure.
Just not even the conversation, the book, the conversation. What's your pearl of wisdom for them? Other than buying the book.
Well, let me start off by saying, please do buy the book. You're going to, I think, very much enjoy it. Thank you, Gary, for the comments you made earlier. But I didn't write it for people just to enjoy a good read. There's plenty of good reads to be had out there. I did it because I wanted to change the way people live, work, and play together. I wanted to create workplaces without complaining, excuses, powerlessness. I wanted to create an environment where people work and play really well together and they win big, where I can go to work and say, TGIM, I'm excited about my work and I'm excited about the people I do it with. And I know I can't do that just by writing a book, but I do know that if I could start, and we can start with a book that offers a little hope and a little inspiration, that people like yourself and others might try something a little different that you never thought possible or never thought to consider before. That's what I'm hoping this book has done and can create. I want us to create an environment where work is easy and people are amazing, not where work is.
Oh, don't say it. Don't put the negative in the world.
You got it. Okay, man.
Don't.
You got it.
Let's stay on the positive.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you for catching that.
Yeah.
Work is, work is easy. People are amazing. Let's create that world together.
Exactly. And George, what I wish for you is that somehow you find out that that's what's happening.
Thank you.
People read the book and let you know, reach out to you, because it is a great read. It is impactful. And I think it's one of the books that will stay in my shelf. I have very few books in my library, but it's one of those ones that, I like because I can pick it up again and read it again. And I'll probably say to myself, did I read this correctly the first time? I don't remember this. I don't remember this. I don't remember that. But anyways, but you know what? We've already said it. George, where can people buy the book?
They probably the best place to start. They can go to Amazon, they can go to Indigo, they can go to Barnes and Noble, or to our publishers, Friesen Press. Probably the best place to start if they're unsure is to go to my website, leadershipfundamentals.com. Click on the book itself and where to buy it. A little pop-up window will appear, and you can click the link to take you directly to the favorite retailer that you want to buy it from. It's not available. I wish it could be, but being an unknown author at this point, I'm not in physical presence in those retailers because that's just the way they operate for the time being. Yeah. Hopefully by book 2, that will all change. But the best
I'm sorry, George, by what?
By book 2.
Is there a book 2 in the works?
Well, thank you for asking, because Dakota and I have broken ground on book 2. And
oh my God. Okay.
Oh yeah.
This is like waiting for the next Harry Potter installment. I can't wait. Move over, J.K. Rowling. I've got my George.
I love it. Thank you. Well, it's still on the horizon, and it's a 2022 project, but we've broken ground on book 2. But Amazon, it's available in ebook fashion in those retailers I just mentioned. It's available in paperback and hardcover, and the audio book is just come out. So if you're an Audible fan or what have you,
I might do that. Yeah, I might do that too. Yeah. That's cool. And I guess the best way to reach you is through the website or
leadershipfundamentals.com, or my email address, which is georgea@leadershipfundamentals.com.
Yeah, not to be confused with George B.
We don't even know who that person is.
Oh, come on. It's a huge organization. George, thank you so much for this Beyond the Page episode. I'm leaving with something again outside of the book. What if you are the solution? Love it. Adding that to the top of my powerful questions. Oh my goodness. So that's it for this episode of Beyond the Page. Please sign up to our email list at choice-online.com to find previous episodes, or subscribe to your favorite podcast app, because we're there too, so that you don't miss any of our informative episodes. If you're interested in getting a free issue of Choice magazine, head on over to choice-online.com and click the sign up now button, and you'll receive a digital edition in your email. I'm Gary Schleifer. Enjoy the journey to mastery.